segmenting of the schedule. Second half officially started last night. With that being, your most complete game to date, how can you capitalize on that?
Do it again. I think that's the. I think we've obviously discussed a lot of our flaws and internally tried to figure out solutions to figure this stuff out. And listen, I know that's baseball. I've been around a long time, so there's times when you don't play well, but you always want to stop it before it gets too out of hand, and you don't want to turn a 60-game season. It's tough. It makes it a little harder. In a 162-game season, you start to address things and you kind of chip away at things, but we try to address them as quickly as possible. After 10 games, 15 games, it didn't quite work out. After the 10 games, we still didn't play as good after that. But right now, we have addressed these things, and hopefully we can continue to play consistent, because that's what I keep preaching. And yesterday was a good game for us. Like I said, we just got to come back and do it again tonight.
Obviously, it's a business, and these aren't your decisions. But have you allowed yourself to think about this perhaps being Lance's last start, or do you not go there?
I don't go there. I try not to go there. It's too hard as a manager, to because that there's going to be some action. I know by Monday we probably won't have a couple players on our team that we have right now. That's part of the business. I try not to think about it too much and just try to obviously manage every game as if they were going to be with us forever. So it's going to hurt when some of these guys go, if they happen to go. I don't want to see some of them go, obviously, and that's just part of the game, though.
With Leote, we've heard so much about his elite defense. What have you seen from him at the plate?
I see him working. That's the one thing I've talked to our hitting guys about him. The one thing I can depend on is, like I said before, he does control the strike zone. You saw it last night. He's faced some pretty good pitching too lately. So I expect there to be some struggle. I know he's working on some things with his swing to try to get a little more consistency, putting the ball forward. Those are things that I kind of expect out of our younger guys, especially with our staff that we have here. I just want to see growth in that area, being able to handle, different types of pitching, different, movement on pitches, to know that there's an approach that goes with that for younger guys. And that's kind of where we're at with a lot of our younger guys, honestly, that are getting consistent at bats right now. That's what I want to see. And, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. Sometimes it doesn't show up necessarily in the game. There's still some swing and miss there, but, what I know they're doing, in the cage work, in their BP, just in their mindset, I know it's getting closer, and that's what I want to see with Leo. He's young, and I expect there to be a little bit of ups and downs, but control the strike zone. When he gets on base, he causes havoc, and that's he's still impacting a lot of games, even though he hasn't hit, probably like he'd want.
And I think, I knew he was fast. I don't know if I thought he was that fast.
His speed, yeah, he's fast, but his speed obviously plays, to the level it should, because he prepares. And that's one thing that really, really caught my eye, especially in our second spring training, just how hard he worked at kind of picking up tips on pitchers, knowing how to, get jumps on pitchers, and then, with his defense, how he shags in the outfield, how much detail he places on getting jumps. And, he's talked to our strength guys about how to get off the ball a little faster. And this guy's already fast. So when you start seeing a young kid kind of take that kind of attention to detail on all these little things, that speed is going to actually play in the game. There's a lot of fast guys that the speed doesn't play in the game. They can't steal bases and they don't get good jumps on balls, but he does both. And that kind of leads me to believe, from an offensive side, like, he's doing the same thing with his swing. So he's getting there, and it's just that's really encouraging for me, obviously, as his manager, to know that there's progress that will be made.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Other questions, please. PR.
If I remember right, which is always a dubious proposition, you guys pulled Minor from the start right before the July 31st trade deadline last year, which, was the whole hoopla surrounding it. And there seemed to be a lot more. Did you think about that with Lynn today, pulling him till, say, Tuesday?
No, we didn't even really discuss it, to be honest with you. I talk with JD obviously a lot every day. None of our starters, we just said, what, if it, we have obviously backup plans just in case something happens. last second. But as of right now, we had no plan to pull any of those guys from their start to keep them from pitching.
Okay, Heineman in left, Tavares in center, and Gallo in right. I think, my opinion is that's a premium defensive outfield. Did that cross your mind as far, especially in this ballpark?
Yeah, no, I mean, that was last night. I felt pretty confident, last night having that threesome out there. Obviously covers a lot of ground, pretty good arm. There's a lot of, it's an elite outfield for sure.
Heineman is, last question, Heineman's been kind of interesting to me to look at his offense because I think he's had some bad luck. But the other thing that's interesting to me is that this poor kid gets down 0-2 faster than any hitter I've seen. Have you guys noticed that? Talked to him about that? Is there something there that I'm seeing?
Yeah, he's definitely been unlucky this year. He's been our most unlucky player. But yeah, there's something we've definitely discussed to be more aggressive. The thing is, teams know that. Teams know that he doesn't swing early in the count. And nowadays, you can't get away with that. Most teams are going to find that out, and they're going to be like, okay, he's a 5% first pitch swing. Let's throw a strike. And they'll literally throw it right down the middle sometimes. And if he's not going to swing at it, then it just keeps adding to the fact that teams are going to get more comfortable doing it. So at some point, he's got to be more aggressive early in the count, so he is an 0-2 every time.
Other questions? Let's go to Sam.
I know you mentioned just the possibility of having some guys leave your roster at the end of this week. Have you thought, or has the organization kind of talked about maybe bringing up some of those just real prospects that you have, given just the nature of this season, and they're right across the street?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and I think we will, depending on obviously the situation we're in from a standing standpoint, and then what happens after this trade deadline, where our roster stands. They will be up here at some point. Some of these guys, maybe not all of them, but some of them will definitely be here, and we've been talking through that pretty much since the beginning of the season. Like, who would we want to see? Who's ready? Who do we need to kind of ease into it? Maybe they're not ready, but we might want to get them a little bit of exposure at this level. So yes, there definitely will be some here.
Given, obviously you guys are a little out of it right now, but you played the Astros, I think, almost half your games this season. I mean, does the staying in contention thing kind of cross your mind too?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen other teams, obviously bring up young guys and stay in contention as well. So, at no point are we giving up. Getting to the postseason. We do. We play the Astros 10 times out of our last 30 games. So, it's something we look forward to. That first series in Houston will kind of set the tone for the rest of the season. If we play well against them, we could get right back in this thing because they're obviously the team that I think is going to, we're going to have to compete for second place. So, I love that our younger guys, they're eager to do it. Our guys can't wait to play those guys. So, it's going to be in our hands a little bit.
Chris?
This is probably my third or fourth time asking about Ronald Guzman. I'm just really curious about him, just in general. Now that he's back in the club, he's in the lineup today. Have you pulled him aside and talked to him just to kind of prepare him? Just because I know he really wants to do well. What kind of conversations have you had with him?
Yeah, we talked yesterday, and I've talked to him throughout when he was down, just understanding what it is he's working on, and he feels like he's in a really good spot right now. So obviously he needs to show it on the field. I want to see some good swings, some controlled swings. Maybe the effort level not as high sometimes because he tries too hard at times. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued to see how he feels right now and what he looks like. That's why I have him in there today. Obviously, from a defensive standpoint, with Lance on the mound with 7 lefties or 6 lefties in their lineup, obviously I wanted some premium defense on that side of the field, so that had a lot to do with it. But I've heard a lot of good things about the swing. I wouldn't say changes, but just where his swing is at right now, and he's put a lot of time and effort into it. So I don't know. We'll see. And my conversations with him are just like a lot of the other guys. I need consistency. That's the one thing we haven't had is consistent production, especially at first base. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what my expectations are for him.
And to follow up on Sam's question about the prospects, do you anticipate? I mean, I know Anderson Tejeda has already made an appearance, but any of the other prospects that haven't played any either AA or AAA ball, do you see them possibly being on the roster at some point?
Potentially. Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of know the names of, excuse me, the names that are down there. Yeah, I mean, it's a different season, obviously, and these guys would have been playing, in AA or AAA. And next year is going to be the really interesting thing, because a lot of these players throughout baseball are going to have, some of these guys will have never played in AA or AAA, and they're going to go into big league camps looking to make teams, whereas they would have been playing in AA, AAA this year. So it's going to be a very interesting, I guess, the way of evaluating players throughout all of baseball after this season, especially because they didn't get a chance to play. They're playing against each other over on the alternate site, and that's what you're basing their development of a season on, and it's really tough.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Couple more questions from writers. Go ahead, Levi.
I know it's more nuanced than this, but the trade deadline, in broad strokes, kind of tends to go one of three ways: buy, sell, or stand and pat. I know that there's a lot of shades of gray between those two. If a team is in a position where they sell, it usually ends up being more established veterans, guys that tend to be the leaders in the clubhouse. And that's not to say that you're going to have a fire sale and all of your guys over 30 are going to be gone. But does that create any kind of a leadership void if the guys like, and I hesitate to use say as an example, but somebody like that has kind of been a voice of the clubhouse or set the tone of the clubhouse. If somebody like that goes away, how do you mitigate that as a manager?
Yeah, that's tough. That's when you lose certain guys, just specific certain guys, it hurts more than others. So I think it's on all of us. It's obviously on me to go around and talk to the other players that need to step up. Maybe guys that weren't in as much of a role before, they need to kind of take ownership of it and make sure we're going in the right direction. And that's just a lot of conversations on my part with especially the younger guys. I think I've had so many conversations with our younger guys lately, just because of everything that's going on and trying to get them to understand like how we're moving and where we're moving, to know that, listen, you're not a leader right now, and I don't expect that out of you to run a clubhouse, but this is my expectation and these are our expectations, and you just keep bouncing ideas off of them. So if we lose one of those main guys, then somebody else has got to step up, and that's what I'm going to kind of talk to a lot of guys about. And listen, we haven't got rid of anybody yet, so until we do, obviously, then we'll have to adjust and figure out where we go from there.
Yeah, it strikes me, and obviously we're not in the room this year, so I'm getting a little bit more than usual, but it seems to me that of sort of the next generation of guys who are going to be leaders in the clubhouse, two in particular really kind of seem to stick out to me: Jose Trevino and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Is that a fair assessment? Or are there guys that I'm sure everybody has certain levels of leadership abilities, but it seems like those two kind of stick out a little bit above the others.
Yeah, they do. I think Trevino has probably all the qualities of a leader. He's outspoken. He obviously preaches the right message. He plays the right way. He does all the things that you would want. He's a catcher, so he's obviously in control of the game, from many standpoints. Kiner, the way he plays, the effort, the attitude, the passion that he kind of plays and carries himself with, obviously is a huge, leadership quality. There's a lot of guys. I mean, honestly, Joey, in many ways, I've talked to Joey about just how he plays the game. That's, his legacy, honestly, is how hard Joey plays. He never takes a play off, and I think that a lot of people take that for granted sometimes. So we have some younger guys that have those qualities that I'm really looking forward to seeing that clubhouse kind of flourish in that way, because the expectations of how we prepare, how we compete, how we treat each other, all those things are upped, which they are right now, but especially with this younger core that has those values.
Who's that next guy on the pitching staff? I hear Jose Leclerc's name come up a lot.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that you would point to as kind of like the next generation of leaders in your pitching side?
Taylor Hearn, honestly, he's got a lot of leadership qualities, just by the way he carries himself. But yes, Jose, he did a tremendous job last year, especially enduring kind of a tough year, just on the field. But he never lost. You would never know it if you just sat and talked to him. The way he kind of carried, especially with Montero and Clase last year, he kind of took him under his wing, and that's a lot to say for a young kid, at his age and actually struggling, not even dominating at the time, to kind of wear that kind of, hey, follow me, this is how we do things here. There's a few guys, obviously. You look at Solak, the way he kind of carries himself, the way he competes. A lot of guys look up to him, man. They really respect the way he goes about his business. So it's good to have that core kind of have the same idea and same identity.
That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take two more, Evan and then Alex, and then I'll let the broadcasters go through. Go ahead, Evan.
Hey, to that group, I was going to ask about Solak, because I think it was either Kiner or Trevino who said earlier this week that Solak works harder than all of us. That been your experience so far on Nick? Is that the thing that guys look up to?
Yeah, it's just he's relentless. He's kind of a silent assassin. He goes about his business. He doesn't say a ton, but when he does, it's pretty impactful, and he demands that out of his teammates. I noticed that when we were playing, in our inter squad games in summer camp. Just he was on the other side a lot because I had Danny playing center on one side and him playing center on the other, so he was never with the main group. And he took that upon himself to say, hey man, like, we're going to kick their butt on the other side, like, and he kind of led that group on the other side. He's competitive. He does, like I said, he doesn't say much, but when he does, there's a lot of fire in that heart of his, man. He just wants to win. He'll do anything it takes to win, and his teammates respect the heck out of him for that, and they see it on the field every day. He doesn't always look pretty when he does things, but he gets it done, and I think that a lot of guys really, really respect and appreciate that.
There was one other guy, too, that kind of came to mind, and that was Jonathan, based mostly on the competitiveness. And, from the little glimpses we've seen this year in talking with us, it just seems like there's a real purpose to how he's going about things. Does he fit into that group?
I think so, just because of everything he's been through, and he's open to talk about it. And the one thing I'm proud of a lot of our younger guys is, I've said from day one, we have to discuss things that are uncomfortable. So, just because you don't feel great, you've dealt with maybe some issues that every player deals with that nobody likes to say out loud. Like, hey, I have anxiety. I'm a little nervous. I'm this and that. It doesn't feel right. I don't know where the ball's going. Jonathan admitted that and talked openly about it and said, hey, I got to figure this out. We talked about it last year in Double-A. He said there was no way I was going to pitch in the big leagues last year. And he just kept, obviously talking with the coaching staff, working through it, and he figured it out and look where he is now. I mean, you look at where he is mentally, able to handle, basically every time I send him out there, it's the eighth inning of a one-run game. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty remarkable. And I look back and I think, man, he's dealing with all this. And, he had, a rough one the other night, but you didn't see a change in his demeanor. You didn't see a change in, his execution. It's just, he left a couple of balls with the plate that they hit. So what? This is baseball, like, that happens. So just his maturity level, talking to him afterwards, nothing has spiraled. He just trusts that, hey, this is what I got to do to compete. And what a great message to send to the rest of our younger guys that are maybe not as close as they realize to being able to impact our team. You look at a guy that was in Double-A last year who's now one of our best pitchers, if not our best pitcher, the transformation that he's taken on. So it's a great call and a great message for him to kind of share with the younger guys that are coming up.
And last thing for me, and you may have touched on this after the game last night, but I was just really struck by the opposite field approach and success last night. Was that basically because of McGee, or was that you guys were actually putting into action something that a change or an adjustment?
No, I think we talk about it a lot. I just don't think we have been executing it as well as we'd like. Last night was good, obviously, with May, throwing 100-mile-an-hour two-seamers and 94-mile-an-hour cutters. I mean, it's pretty elite stuff. And, Chu working the other way on a pitch that was probably off the plate away. taking that double. And then obviously when we got into the bullpen, the one thing, Solak comes to mind because he did it twice, but he's not afraid to get jammed, not afraid to, he's been working the ball the other way the whole year. So, when we work to the big part of the field and we kind of keep the ball down, we can score some runs and we can kind of keep the line moving. But, it's when we get maybe a little bit pull happy or try to, elevate the ball too much is when we get in trouble.
Great. Thanks, Woody. I appreciate it.
Okay, last one, Alex.
Woody, do you have an update on Elvis Andrews?
Yeah, he's been going through all his workouts have actually been really good. Running, taking ground balls, hitting. He's been doing everything. I think he's right now doing a live BP off of Jesse Chavez. So he should be able to be activated before the road trip. I'm hoping, we can activate him after tomorrow's game or at some point really soon. But he feels pretty much 100% right now.
And he'd be immediately good to go at short once activated, right?
I would believe so, yes. That's the goal.
Okay, GR, you got something real quick. That's it. We're running out of time.
Yeah, Odor, what's up with him, please, sir? Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, his eye is still bothering him. It's still pretty swollen and pretty painful. So I don't know if he'll be available tomorrow, but I'm hoping that some of these pills kick in and he feels better. We're hoping that tomorrow he might be okay.
Hey, Woody, it seemed like, to use a baseball term, like Lance was laboring a bit tonight. What did you see from him?
Yeah, obviously the first 3 innings, 20-plus pitches in each of those innings. I was a little worried, obviously, sending him back out for the 6th, but he wanted it, and I feel like he's kind of earned that to go back out. But, yeah, he did. He kind of labored, got a lot of deep counts. That team does that to you. I've seen it a lot, and, but he battled. He had a couple, what was it, the 3rd inning, with the belly homer. He just kind of missed his spot a little bit and left one a little bit too low for him to handle, and he ended up hitting a homer off him. But overall, Lance did what he normally does and competes and gives us a chance to win a game.
Bottom of the lineup, super productive for you tonight. How big was this for Goosey?
Yeah, it was a pretty good game. I thought he was going to hit for the cycle there. I was hoping he would, just so he can hopefully get a chance to win the game. But I'm really happy for him. He's put in a lot of work. There's been a lot of. He was frustrated. He was disappointed, obviously. Getting sent down, and he put the work in. And obviously, this is one game, but it is a big confidence booster for him, especially to come out swinging like he did. Gets a first pitch fastball and hits a homer on it. But like I said, his swing looks better. His mind is better. I feel like he's in a better place. So hopefully we can get consistent production. Obviously not 3 for 3 every day, but get consistent production from him.
Joey broke his over. It looked like he may have tried to let out some frustration on that baseball. Did it feel that way to you?
Yeah, I feel like he's been doing that for a while. He's working really hard, and we'd like to see. Obviously, he would love to see more results. He's just missing some balls. I feel like fouling a lot of pitches, good pitches off that he's he was getting a little bit frustrated but to turn around 100 mile an hour or whatever that pitch was, it puts him in a good spot, and hopefully he can build off that.
What do you make of the Derek Dietrich last couple of hit by pitches not being hit by pitches?
Yeah, the only thing I told the umpire was that I feel like they, obviously somebody may have, warned them or talked to them about it. Obviously I understand when a guy leans in and, appears to kind of tries to let the ball hit him as opposed to just standing there and not moving out of the way. There's two different things. If he does lean in, then obviously it shouldn't be a hit by pitch, but I couldn't tell from my standpoint. I feel like he turned his shoulder on that one. But, the thing is, once that kind of word gets around the league, then people start to realize and they start looking for it. And sometimes they'll actually kind of make up, hey, I thought you leaned into that one, whereas they would never call it before. So it's something he's got to be aware of.
That's it for me. Thanks, Wade.
Other questions, please? Okay, let's go to TR.
Chris, what is your conversation or message been with Lance Lynn about what may or may not happen in the next 48 hours?
Honestly, we really haven't talked about it. We've talked about baseball, we talked about the team, we talked about a lot of other things, but it's not really a topic of conversation right now. If it happens, it happens. There's not much we can do about it. I love the guy, and I hope he doesn't go, but at the same time, I understand it's a business, and I don't know. It's we've had a lot of other conversations, regarding our team. So he's still focused on this team and making this team better.
What are your expectations about what may happen to him in the next 48 hours?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, obviously he's. If I was another team, I'd want him. I know that. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's been really good this year, really good last year. So, if I was a contending team that was in first place and wanting to win a World Series, that'd be the guy I'd look for. But I hope he stays with us.
Other questions, Chris?
What is Ronald Guzman's ceiling at the plate?
I don't know. That's a good question. I honestly don't know. I think from a makeup standpoint, he makes that ceiling pretty high. He's willing to learn. He's willing to listen. He's always been a pretty emotional kid, so we're trying to get him to, be able to control that. It's okay to be passionate and play the game with, a lot of energy and like I said, emotion, but you got to be able to control it. So he's really worked hard on that, and it's something, that he talks about a lot. And to be able to control the environment and the at-bats, on a day-to-day basis is really the biggest test. And can he maintain a swing, that's consistent? But he's putting in the work. I know that. So, whatever his ceiling is, I don't know, to be honest with you. I think this is going to, set that ceiling for him. And right now he's in a decent spot.
Kyle Cody, 2 in the third innings tonight against that lineup. No hits. What are you seeing from him?
I'm seeing a lot. It's just, I'll hit on both him and Taylor Hearn because I think, these younger guys, we're having conversations constantly with these guys to, Cody, he kind of has that, silent assassin mentality. Like he doesn't really care when he's out there who's in the batter's box. And we've seen that from day one. And, you get one of the best, especially a bunch of left-handed hitting lineup up there. And he kind of just, and listen, they were obviously unfamiliar with him. He's got good stuff, but, he walked 2 guys, but never lost his poise. Almost got better. So was still working, sliders behind in the count, able to execute his fastball when he needed to. So those are things that, he looks like an older veteran. Now, we're obviously looking to see how he handles adversity. If he does give up a couple runs, how is that going to, what's going to happen in his mind? But it's been impressive, man. Like, the way he's throwing the ball, he does. He seems like a 10-year vet out there. And my message to Taylor today was, those are spots that are going to come up where, we're not always going to have Joely for that spot. Like, we're going to need other options. And, I want these younger guys to just think from a mindset standpoint, like, come out and attack. And I know, Taylor said he did, which I was proud of because that was the only thing I really cared about. Like, go out and attack these guys. Now, if you give up a homer, you give up a homer. But there's a lot of situation that these younger guys are going to be in, from to this point to the end of the season that I want to see how they handle them. And it's more of a mindset thing than a physical thing.
I think a couple more for the players. Let's go to Levi. Anybody else after that got one? Okay, we'll just go to Levi and then I'll bring the players in.
On Hearn, this is probably the most high leverage situation he's been in this year. Like you said, maybe the home run's not a big deal, but it looked like the command was not what it had been in some of the other outings. Is there a level of concern as the manager that the performance is maybe different in a high leverage situation, or is this just a one night thing that you brush off and try it again later?
I would hope that every guy you put in the first time in a high leverage spot, he just goes out and dominates. That's just not the case in baseball, right? So we're going to have to navigate through all these, and they're learning moments. Listen, I know Taylor's going to feel bad he gave up a homer, but guess what? He can learn from that. He can learn about, okay, what was my mentality when I came into the game? What was I thinking about? Was there anything kind of getting in the way of just letting it go and being able to execute? Because it's going to happen again. We can't avoid that. Like, I don't want to avoid that. I want to be able to put him in that spot over and over again. Sometimes they're going to get you, and sometimes you're going to dominate. Like, so it's we gotta teach these guys every time they're out there that there's something they can learn from it, good or bad, especially if it doesn't work out. And I think that's where us as a staff and we got to communicate, and I got to communicate with these guys so we can have growth through all these moments. Because I love putting them in the spot. I don't like it when they fail, but at the same time, like, I love putting them in the spot to see how they respond. And I thought he threw the ball okay. I just, wanted to see a little bit more conviction, I guess, towards the end. But, he said he was giving it everything he had, so that's all I can ask.
My last follow-up was like just what you were seeing, but just was you said a conviction thing, or
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of things. I think it's just maybe never having been in that spot. Sometimes you don't know how your body's going to respond, and the ball was coming out of his hand okay. Obviously he got behind. With Muncy up there, base open, maybe throwing a ball, challenging him right there. Maybe keeping the ball, if anything, off the plate as opposed to over the middle of the plate. He'll obviously learn from that. But I talked to him. I said, Mookie Betts at second base. You can't come in and give a 1-8 to the plate. Like, you got to be aware of that. He will steal third base, and he didn't take any time, and he stole on the first pitch. So those are things that we got to talk through with these younger guys so that they can see the game for everything that it is out there, when they step on the mound.